Ready. Well, good afternoon and welcome to New Living Expo. I'm your host for the UFO panel, Robert Perella. How are you? What a remarkable time that we are in the vast and sweeping changes in consciousness, where we are not only getting ready for contact, but we've already made contact. And our panel here of distinguished members is going to show you and explain to you a little about each perspective, from disclosure, the legal department, the defense department, personal contact with a hybrid community, a hybrid guest. And you're going to find this, I think, very startling and intelligent. I'm very, very excited about this. Ken Kaufman produced the show. You can give him a big hand. So I'm going to be very, very brief, and I'm just going to introduce who is with us today. Second here on our panel here is Vivian Chavez. I was very excited about her. Internationally recognized as an inspirational teacher, Vivian is an Arcturian behavioral hybrid, biological hybrid. She's known as the universal healer, galactic ambassador, and from a voice from Arcturus and High Priestess, and she explains a little bit about how extraterrestrials are not only visiting here, but they even move through her. They have a personal relationship with her. She has been teaching all internationally and domestically. Vivian has an innate healing gift and does private sessions as well, and Zoom sessions. And we'll show you a little bit about your own DNA, who the Pleiadians are, who the Andromedans are. Please give a very warm, wonderful welcome for Vivian Chavez. Right next to Vivian is Lorian Fenton. Lorian has been a great friend of our community because she has been involved in, she has produced a UFO Con for 11 years. She has produced the Fenton Perspective for 11 years. She holds MUFON Northern California meetings in Petaluma for 11 years. Do you ever get the idea that the 3 11s might mean something? There's a psychic connection there of some sort. And she is a contactee and is the host of her own radio show on Revolution Radio. Give a very warm welcome for Lorian Fenton. Next to Vivian here is Danny Sheehan, the famed Harvard constitutional law attorney, and has been a chief consultant in disclosure in international and domestic policy, the Defense Department, the National and Defense Department. He was one of the chief counsel and speakers at the citizens hearing on disclosure in Washington, D.C. He is the chief he was chief counsel to the John Mack special counsel as well to President Carter. I like Danny very much, the famed Harvard law attorney, because he is very grounded. He separates fact from fiction, and you might say that he's here to explain a little bit about what Washington, D.C. is doing to get you maybe used to the idea of extraterrestrials in the way that they want to, but Danny will explore his version of this. I think you'll find this very startling and intelligent. Give a warm, wonderful welcome for Mr. Danny Sheehan. And next to him is my good buddy. He's the king of late night radio. It's Mr. Sean David Morton. He's got a lot of fans here today, of course. He's clever, charming, he's witty, and he's been giving consideration to prophecies, astrological forecasts, and what do the tarot cards perhaps tell us. He will explain to you a little bit about the time-space continuum and time travel. He has been a teacher of the ancient prophecies of Nostradamus, the mystery schools, the pyramids at Giza, and his books, The Sands of Time, Volume 1 and 2, have been bestsellers. Give a very warm, wonderful welcome for Mr. Sean David Morton. Okay. Without further ado, our first guest is a galactic priestess who explains to us a little bit about our DNA origin, and will tell you a little bit about what is going on or what they know about Andromeda, etc., and the Pleiadians, the Lyrans, and I think you'll find this absolutely fascinating. Please give a very warm and wonderful welcome for Miss Vivian Chavez.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. We're very blessed to have you. Thank you and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping an open mind as you're receiving so much transmission of light. Remember that we are part of a very vast intergalactic family, community of light. As Robert kindly introduced me, I am known as an advanced Arcturian hybrid. I represent a very advanced intergalactic group of masters. We have reached enlightenment thousands of years ago. So being a hybrid, what does it mean in my case? I know the word hybrid has been used a lot, but in my particular situation, we took a lot of time to perfect a perfect vessel, the physical body, that will contain a higher percentage of Arcturian genetic material. And I also brought a touch of human DNA from my mother, so I can coexist in these third-dimensional field. You have to think about Arcturians, your star brothers and sisters. We primarily exist in the fifth dimensional reality and above. So we're not designed to live on a planet with a heavy gravity field and a lower frequencies. So imagine the challenge for me to be here physically. So my conduit, my body is really much the result of advanced engineering through the Arcturians and also a long collaboration through generational lines on my mother's side to perfect the genes so I can be here in this vessel. Why do all this work? That's because we have foreseen the organic timeline of ascension for a long time. We are not bound by the third dimensional reality. What it means is that we can perceive multiple timelines all at once and to see and perceive which timelines has the most probability. So we have known that the Earth will enter the organic timeline of ascension that you are currently on. So it was a very long time coming for me to come back on this planet in this physical form that you know as Viviane Chauvet. This is my human name. And so I'm very happy to be here. What we do here is to really support not only the organic timeline of ascension to assure its success, but we're also here to help humanity as a civilization of galactic royalties that you are, with all the gene pool that you carry within you, to help everybody to reawaken to your true nature. And I do say the word reawaken because many of you have already reached the level of ascension in other forms, in other lifetime or other timelines. So there's a lot of star seeds or star emanations, soul emanations on the planet have come back from different systems. Arcturians is one of them. Many people connect to the Arcturians, Andromedan, Lyran, Sirians, the Pleiadians, of course, and so forth. So there's a lot of representative from the intergalactic community of light that are here in human form. The difference is that, in my case, I sent out only an aspect of my Arcturian oversoul in this body so I can be doing my work and I can talk with you today. Otherwise, can you imagine if I were 12 feet tall, very lanky, very E.T. looking, no hair, with beautiful, profound eyes, 3-digit, and says, "Hey, I want to be on your panel, Lorian. Would you let me?"
I'd be ready for that climb.
There will be a time when that will happen. But the point is that we want to effectively understand the challenge that humanity as a civilization with so many gifts, so many encoding in your DNA, while in the original template have sunk so deep into a state of, let's call it sleepiness or unconsciousness. So to be able to come back into a state of re-embracing your true divine nature and who you are, and allowing the earth, sacred terra, to reascend to a state of fifth dimensional reality and above, then we send out many of our emissary on the planet. So many other groups have done the same. So in my case, I chose to come back as a hybrid prototype to allow a very clear physical conduit, a presence on the planet, so I can be constantly feeding those frequencies. It never burns my nervous systems, which will be the case if I were not genetically engineered for this. So I speak about the nervous system because it's a big part of the human evolution. human beings experience the level of reality and perspective through the nervous systems, and holographically we see them as your gateway of light. So they're a very, very important part of you that you need to nurture and really understand the mechanism behind it. So part also of the teaching we offer, like today, is to be able to create a more conscious point of reconnection and to know that you've never been separated from your intergalactic groups. You've always been in sync with this vast network of intelligence that you are a part of. It is time that we come back together. Have you noticed one thing? That the world of UFO and spirituality are coming together more. There's no longer a separation. There's never been a separation. We're healing that bridge. So allowing myself to be boots on the ground, I'm able to do a lot more work more effectively than if I were in complete my octarine form, which I wouldn't be able to be physically here in this room. It's just too much energy, it's too dense. And in reality, I'm also bridging that third dimensional world that is collapsing and creating a bridge of connection to the fifth dimension and above. Did you know that in your solar system, when you look at pictures of stars, planet, and all of this, these are image of your past, the image in time. All the planet in your system has already evolved to the fifth dimension. I know because I can also speak to celestial bodies. I connect with them to quantum communication. So it is truly time. You are on the verge of a huge second wave of awakening coming through right now, right here, starting this month. Not 10 years from now, to prepare you right now. Look at the global changes on your planet. It is time. We are shifting the historical time. We're healing the karma of the past. You're shifting your DNA template. Yesterday in my lecture, for those who were there, we talked about the release of certain codons in your DNA that are associated with the Anunnaki agenda thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So we're clearing that old template of servitude and slavery that bound so many human beings, thinking that I'm so little, I'm so powerless, I have to fear gods that comes from the sky, which is a complete illusion. We're bringing back the bridge of communication, and there will be a time, it's coming, the intergalactic beings are coming back more and more, and we, the Octurians, there will be a time where my team will be there physically on stage with me. I've seen the visions, I've seen it is coming, it's just not time just yet because of the conjunction and the timelines. So we're truly here to help to uplift, heal, teach, and help you remember the profoundness of who you are. There's no more need to look up to the skies. It's time to look into your own international and interplanetary grids that you have within you. Your body is a celestial map in itself. When we look at your body, we look at the holographic template of it. You are completely just pure energy, light codes transmitting constantly. Can you imagine starting to live in a sense of reconnecting with who you are? How much of you do you remember? How much of you do you know about yourself? Not the program version. My name is Vina, I grew up in Montreal. Nice to meet you. No. I'm talking about you at the soul level. And that's what we do with everything. It's all about empowerment, remembering, clearing, activating, and much more. There will be a lot more that's going to be revealed information-wise. However, and I will finish with that, Robert, just to bring a sparkle of wisdom, there's a difference between knowledge and information. So just be mindful of what you accept in your reality, because that will influence what you think you're capable of doing. And it also influencing how you're utilizing your unique frequency to co-manifest and sustain the ascension timeline. You play an important part more than you know. You carry the spark of divinity within you, and you are part of a very intelligent network of life out there, here and now, on your planet. So get to know who you are, everybody, because you are magnificent, and we see it in your history, we see it in your evolution, we see it every day in you. So remember, you are magnificent beings.
Absolutely remarkable. And where is your booth? Where can we find you?
Oh, yes, of course. I'm so not good at promotion. Booth 311, we're the one with the copper Nubian pyramid and with the exquisite tensor pendant that my husband makes, Peter. So 311.
What did I tell you? Astonishing, is it not? Absolutely incredible. We're going to go to National Defense Policy, Washington, D.C., International Policy, UFO and Disclosure. Mr. Danny Sheehan.
Wow. Well, my history is a little bit more prosaic than being an Arcturian. I'm a lawyer, which is, I don't know, probably is non-credible. But I've had a particular history that I bring to the panel of having been originally the special counsel to the study done, the top secret study done at the request of President Carter back in 1977 at the Congressional Research Service on the issue of UFOs and the potential existence of an extraterrestrial civilization. And that was in 1977. Then in 1994, I was legal counsel for John Mack, Dr. John Mack at Harvard University, when he was brought up in front of a tribunal from the faculty for having written a book about his regression therapy of many 100 people who had had contact experiences. And he wrote the book and then was dragged before this panel of the faculty to try to challenge his tenure at Harvard. I was fortunate because I graduated from Harvard College and Harvard Law School and had studied at Harvard Divinity School, so I was asked by him to represent him in front of the panel. And because of our having succeeded in pushing back against that, he set up a thing called the Project on Extraordinary Experience Research there in Cambridge, and I became general counsel to that, and therefore I had began to have responsibility for vetting individuals who came forward who professed to be contactees or hybrids or Arcturians or others to determine who was actually sincere and who wasn't, and we encountered both groups, as you might imagine. And I went on to then become legal counsel for the Disclosure Project with Dr. Stephen Greer in 2001. And we presented 21 government officials to the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. To present their personal experiences with encounters with UFOs, primarily. No contacts with face-to-face contacts or abduction experiences, all contacts with UFOs. And I became legal counsel later for Stephen Bassett's in Washington, D.C., the congressional hearings, the hearings on disclosure. And now I'm legal counsel for Lou Elizondo, who, as you know, was the head of the top secret program at the Pentagon for studying UFOs. And I worked with him, and we prepared and filed the complaint against the United States Defense Department for lying and concealing and deceiving the American public with regard to the information that they had relating to the UFO phenomenon. So that's my sort of unique role in our issue that we deal with all together. So I've been at this professionally since 1977, all the way up until now, and we're going back and forth with meetings with the Inspector General of the United States Defense Department, trying to compel them to establish a consistent protocol for reporting encounters with UFOs and leaning on them to mandate that this information be conveyed to Congress and to the specific committees of Congress so that we can get our American public involved in making policy decisions as to what we should do about this issue. I was also general counsel at the United States Jesuit headquarters in Washington, D.C. For the Jesuit order, and co-director of their National Policy Office, where we recommended the initiation of a task force to study the theological implications of contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. So that they've now, as you probably know, that the Catholic Church has issued a formal statement stating that now, in light of the discovery of more and more of these exoplanets, which are going to increase dramatically, of course, with the James Webb telescope that's up now, where they're actually going to be able to photograph and gather data from the surfaces of the exoplanets now, that the Catholic Church has issued a formal statement saying that in light of the discovery of more and more of these exoplanets, the time has now arrived, much sooner than had been anticipated, they said, when we are going to discover life elsewhere in the universe. And so the time has arrived for us to begin, as lay people, a very serious discussion of the profound philosophical and theological questions that are posed to us as a human family with our discovery of an extraterrestrial life form. And given the fact that I had access to this, I interviewed Father Jose Gabriel Funes, who was the official spokesperson for the church that issued this announcement, who was the director of the Pontifical Observatory in Rome. And he told me specifically, we're not talking about the discovery of just, a single cell life form beneath some frozen sea on a moon of some distant planet. We're talking about another highly intelligent, highly technologically developed, but categorically non-human species elsewhere in our galaxy. And that the time has come for us to start adjusting to this. So that my role has been to try to ground these discussions in a concrete, practical analysis of not only the philosophical and theological questions that we have to ask ourselves about what our role is in the universe, in light of the fact that now it's going to be suddenly revealed that we are not, in fact, at the apex of all biological evolution in the universe, and that the universe is not simply a stage upon which to play out the single drama of our species, evolving from the primordial slime into a being that can travel the stars. There's other things going on in the universe, and that we need to start to have these discussions about how we're going to practically address this and readjust our worldview, because of the entire spectrum of worldviews, the entire octave of human worldviews that range all the way from the authoritarian to the reactionary to the conservative to the moderate to the liberal to the progressive to the utopianist. All of these major systematic worldviews of our human family are all rooted in the common premise that we are, in fact, the penultimate evolution of consciousness in the universe. So there's a stark awakening that is underway right now of us coming to grips with this, and it will require not only an evaluation of the philosophical and theological implications of this, but the public policy implications, the political implications, the economic implications. All of these are extraordinarily important for us to begin to talk about. And so my job has been within the community now for some years, over and above representing individuals who have been confronted by the state or other institutions because of their speaking out on this. My role has been to try to help formulate this conversation so that we can speak in very practical, concrete terms about how we're going to prepare for this. And different people have different ways of doing it. Some people, hypothesize different theories, talk about different theories. Some people have had direct contact experiences that they attempt to relate. Other people speak in terms of metaphors and things. But my unique job is to try to have these be concrete, practical, intelligent conversations about how we deal with what's happening now. and what's in the process of happening within our lifetimes, so that we're the generations that are blessed with being here at this unique moment where we're going to start formulating the policies that are going to control our relationship with this extraterrestrial civilization for thousands of years to come in the future. So that's what I'm doing here.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, we're going to switch gears over to our talk show host from the Fenton perspective. So, Lorian Fenton, give a very big hand, everybody, for Miss Lorian Fenton.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you. I hope you can hear me okay. Is that all right? There we go.
Pull the mic in.
Well, let's see what we can do here. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
See if it's even on. That would be a good.
Dennis, oh, he's not back there. Here, take my mic.
It's on now?
Just speak up.
Well, I can scream, but
Oh, boy, can you.
let's just deal with it later. Okay. Oh, much better.
Works now.
Okay. So I want to thank you guys all for being here at the panel today. These guys are extraordinary. I'm kind of the icing on the cake that just gives you little, crystal crumbles. But what I wanted to talk about today was, I got 6 things to talk about, and I've got 10 minutes to do it in. So I'm going to try to do my best. The first thing I want to tell you guys is that I'm very happy to have been a member of MUFON for 12, 13, 14 years now, I think. And really happy to be putting on the MUFON event that I do every month, except for when we have a panel at the New Living Expo. We were supposed to be meeting today from 3 to 5 p.m., but we're here instead. So I hope all of you that got my email are here for the MUFON meeting, and thank you for showing up. And MUFON's a very interesting organization. We've been here for 52 years now. And they've gone through all kinds of changes. We've had CIA directors there. We've had all kinds of people running it. And I'm not sure that, they always had the best interest of the public at heart, but they always had the best interest of disclosure at heart. I really believe that. So one of the things I really hope that you guys will do is take a look at the MUFON website. We have a new director, David McDonald. We're headquartered back in Cincinnati, Ohio right now, and we put on a great symposium every year, and you can become a field investigator if you wanted to get phone calls from people saying they've had extraordinary sightings, and take those reports and help us get them into our CMS database, which is really growing, and it has some extraordinary stories in there about contact, which I'm going to show a few of them tomorrow night at my presentation. It's really amazing what you can see on that website. We got 50 years of information. So don't forget about MUFON. They really are truly, they are what you make them. That's how I put it to people, because people come up to me all the time and go, why are you a MUFON director? Why do you even get involved with them? I go, because I have a great meeting in Petaluma. We have a great time. We all get together. We have fun. And we talk about ETs. We talk about disclosure. We talk about what Danny's doing. We even talk about what Sean's doing at Time Travel Con, which is another event I put on. And that's a fabulous event. And I put on UFO Con, and I also am starting a new whistleblower event, and we got all kinds of things going on. So anyhow, be sure to sign up at my website. It's my name, LorianFenton.com. Get on the email list, because I probably put on 6, 7, 8 things a year. And I have one other thing I want to talk about before I get into the meat of this. I am starting 2 internet channels. One is called Make Contact TV. The other is JFK Truth TV. And just because JFK is actually my hobby, I'd much rather be up here talking to you guys about JFK than UFOs. But I'm here, and this is what's happening. So let me tell you a few stories about my life, and to put things in perspective before I get into the meat of it. I was about 6 years old, and my family and I went to the Multnomah County Fair up in Portland, Oregon, where I grew up. And we were driving home after I had fallen in love with a rabbit back at the 4-H place at the fair. I remember this 1963, and there's nothing there but cotton candy, corn dogs, and sheep and chickens, and there's not much going on. But I fell in love with this rabbit. I held it for about an hour. We had to drive home, and I kept begging my parents to let me have a rabbit. And they were like, no, you can't. I mean, my grandparents. No, you can't have it. No way. Whatever. Anyhow, we're driving home. Do you guys remember the old bench seats in the cars? And for those of you who are over 50, you will remember that we were not strapped in like we're going to Mars in the back of the car. Oh my God, what they're doing to these kids is just torture, I swear. You can't hit your sister or brother and you can't reach them. What point is that, you know? So my sister's in the back, and I'm leaning over the bench seat, and I'm sliding back and forth between my grandmother and my grandfather, going, whispering in each ear, please let me have a rabbit, please let me have a rabbit. And they're like, no, you can't have it. I don't want to build a hutch. And my grandmother goes, your grandfather doesn't want to build a hutch. I'm not doing it. We're not talking about it. Now you got to remember, this is a farm I'm living on, so we have animals. It's not like this is a big deal, right? So we get to the house, and right before we got to the house, I think it was about 3 or 4 blocks away, I got in the middle of them and very loudly put my hands together and did my Catholic schoolgirl thing of, dear God, please let me have a rabbit. And I was like bringing down the wrath of God on them about this rabbit, right? And I'm praying. But while I'm praying, this very interesting thing came over me. To this day, I've only felt it 2 or 3 times since then. And it was like light was running through my body. And I kind of equate it to, it's like everything went dead silent, light's running through my body. I'm feeling this surge of energy, and I can't explain it. To my grandparents, I must have just been sitting there, right, and doing nothing. But for me, it was probably one of the most profound moments of my life. I'll never forget it. And I felt this overwhelming sensation of love. And in that moment, I just imagined the rabbit, and that's all I did. And it was just so beautiful, it was gorgeous, and I just kind of gave up at that point. And I thought, God, listen to me. That's all I could think of, was God, listen to me. And we pulled into our driveway, and I know most of you who haven't grown up on a farm usually have a gate, and it's all fenced in to keep your animals in. And just beyond the gate, we see a black blob sitting there. And my grandfather opens the gate, and there sits a male rabbit, black, same style, same ears, same everything. It is the exact duplicate clone of the rabbit I was just holding for an hour back at the county fair. And my grandparents are looking at each other, and they're looking at me. My sister's clapping and smiling and going, we got a rabbit, and everybody's, but my grandmother knew. That was the day my grandmother looked at me and knew out of 21 grandkids, I was the one who got whatever it is she had. You know, you can say it's a curse, you can say it's a blessing, I don't know what it is now, but it is being psychic. That is the word we use for it. And, but in that moment, I realized something very intriguing. Even at 6 years old, I thought, there has to be an explanation for this. And that's where I'm going with what I want to talk about further on here, is that there is an explanation for all of this. It's the ETs, it's extra-dimensional beings, it's angels, it's demons, it's everything all involved. And that's what we're all here for. We're all here to have a personal experience along that level at somehow with some type of God consciousness that we bring into our life, our higher self that we bring into our life, meditation, whatever it is you need to do to connect with the source, I call it. And the interesting part, just like Vivian had said, is that we're all here to experience this right now at this time. And a very wise woman once told me, she was, she had ran a psychiatric hospital for years. She had like 3 PhDs or what have you, and she was a major hypnotherapist with the women of the mind control community, like Kathy O'Brien and people like that, Cherry Wilder or Arizona Wilder, and all these women. I don't know if you guys know about them. Anybody know about the mind control women? Anyhow, long story short, she was the lady they brought in all of the United States to work with these women and bring them back to themselves and integrate all their personalities. And I did a hypnosis session with her one day. I didn't want to know about my ET contact or anything like that. All I wanted to know about was my past lives. And as we're sitting down to do it, she says to me, you know, all of your past lives are all consecutive and all happening all at the same time. It isn't like we're all looking at something that happened then and it's going to happen in the future. It's all happening now. And going back to the rabbit story, here's what I thought in that moment. I kept thinking, what if that's a different timeline and it's me popping in from another timeline and taking that rabbit out of a hutch down the street and putting it in the driveway at that time? Could that be what happened? So there's lots of explanations for things, and that's what I started to talk to you guys about, explanations for things, and that even means UFOs and aliens and why they're here with us. They're our family. They have been with us since the beginning of time. They will be with us until we're all gone. We're all one with the source, and it's so much like the Matrix. You guys have no idea how close it is to the Matrix. They have shown me some things. The very first time that I remember having a major contact where I was getting a download, they call them, where you're just like getting inundated with knowing and thoughts. The first thing that came out of my brain that equated to them, what they were saying to me was this: we control everything you do. We can see through your eyes. We know what you're thinking at all times. And humanity doesn't understand that they pollute themselves by the thoughts that they have. And I thought, God, that is so profound. It's so true. You know, you guys got to remember, you're not in your head alone. They're in there with you too. So, you know, and most people on this planet are too selfish to understand that they're sharing space with God all the time in their brain. I mean, it's always there. So if you guys just, you know, to throw this out to you, maybe when you go home tonight and you look up to the stars and you say, I want to see a UFO, I want to, you know, talk to the aliens or whatever, maybe the best thing to do is say, I would really love to talk to the guys who are in my head all the time. That would be really cool. And start having a relationship with them. Vivian, I think she preaches this too, that you always need to have a relationship with your ETs.
Oh, that's a good point, Laura.
Yeah, you've got to know who they are and what they're all about. And, and you also have to have boundaries with them. You know, I don't have any grays in my life. You know why? When I was about 8 years old, I got scared one night because I thought something was in the closet coming out at me. And I'm pretty sure nowadays I probably had some grays activity when I was a kid. And I just said in my head to these guys, whoever they were, I said, no, I don't want to see anything scary. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to have this relationship. Even at 8 years old, I knew that what they were doing was not right, that I did not give them permission to do it. So this is really super important to me, is that everybody out there understands you're the boss with them. You're having a relationship. They're children of God too. They have to abide by the rules as well. So you can get them to do that. So do I have any more time? Am I done? That's it? Okay, I'm wrapping it up. So that's it for me.
Oh, I have a different perspective on all of this. I'm so excited to see this, and we have a very, very series of questions that'll be asked real soon by a couple by myself and then by you. So with that, we're going to go to Mr. Sean David Morton.
Okay.
Yay, Sean.
I have a confession to make. I am an alien hybrid, which is why I get such good gas mileage.
Okay.
My entire body is, in fact, one ginormous communications device. Here, but you don't want to be around when the fax comes through, is all I can say. I have figured out what every woman wants. They want security, because every time I talk to them, they yell, security! I did get bunnies when I was a kid, like Lorraine did, but they were alien bunnies, and they ate my family. And so all I remember is my mom used to beat me with a shoe, and my dad used to beat me with a belt. I went to court to divorce my parents. The judge said, what do you want? I said, I want to be adopted by the New York Jets. He said, why? I said, because they never beat anybody. No, okay. Not the joke to tell here. Okay, so. Wow. The reason I've been able to if you've heard of Area 51, it was because of people like me. If you've heard of chupacabras, it was because I was crazy enough to run through the weeds in Puerto Rico for a couple of weeks being with the Puerto Rican National Guard and basically prove that chupacabras were something that was real. If you've heard of a lot of things, a lot of the conspiracy stuff, because I've gotten on the radio and talking about it, but I've also been able to present it to the mainstream. When I was working for example, I founded the Sci-Fi Channel with a show called Mysteries from Beyond the Other Dominion and another show called Declassified. But it was always because, and another show, I was one of the founders of UPN, which is now CW. We had a show called Strange Universe, which ran for about 3 years on that I was basically the creator of. I had a show that was greenlit for Sci-Fi when we were doing literally original programs for the Sci-Fi Channel out of a garage in Sylmar. And I had a show called Declassified, where the first 2 episodes were about the connection between the John Lennon murder and assassination, if you will, and the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan. And we had it ready to go, and it was going to be one of the first major programs on Sci-Fi. And we get a call, I think it was from Bonnie Hammer, who later went on to head USA, and she goes, well, we're really sorry, Sean, but we can't go ahead with Declassified because we just spent all our money picking up reruns of Land of the Giants. If you remember that show, anybody? Yeah, and Land of the Giants, the funny thing about Land of the Giants, it's like shopping at Costco. Because you got to go in with like a giant hairpin or something, and you got to, oh no, there's clean up on aisle 3, there's a flood, somebody spilled the cranberry juice. So, but my ability as kind of Mr. Sweeps is whenever they wanted to have something that caught the imagination of people or whatever, they'd come to me. And I was able to present concepts like what you just heard as an example with kind of style and a smile and give it a bit of a twinge, which is kind of tongue-in-cheek and sometimes, but it was a way I was taught very early that which is taught with humor is learned forever. So my grandmother used to joke around all this stuff. I still remember 1980 coming in and saying, Grandma, you gotta come vote. You gotta come vote. Come on, I'll drive you down. And she was chopping potatoes, and she said, oh, Shawnee boy, do you think if voting changed anything, they would have made it illegal a long time ago? And I was like, yeah, that's about right. So, so everything that I've tried to present with, a little smile, a little grin, a little tongue-in-cheek. And it's gotten us to a point where a lot of people have accepted things. It's got to the point where anybody ever used to watch Dexter's Laboratory? Everybody see that cartoon? It got to the point where Dexter actually had a pet chupacabra in the laboratory. It got to the point where a bunch of kids in my local neighborhood came and said, do you know about chupacabras? And I said, yeah. And he said, we want to name our team the Chupacabras. So I was like, okay, well, here's a bunch of artwork to make sure you can be the Chupacabras. So you've seen how these things have seeped into our culture. You've seen how they've gone from Little Green Men to now TV series all over the place. Matter of fact, I was in a student film that they've now turned into a TV series with Alan Tudyk. And the student film I was in, and actually the TV series is called Resident Alien. Has anybody seen it? And it's about a country doctor that's really an alien. And I was in a student film where I was an investigator, and I was investigating this alien doctor in a small town who was in fact a proctologist. That's funny. I don't know if you know it's funny or not, but it's funny. Again, people keep asking me, how can you tell a good abduction from a bad abduction? And I was like, if you're face up on the table, probably okay. If you're face down, probably not so much. So, you can ask Travis Walton and maybe whatever about that. So, again, I'm not any kind of E. I'm not an abductee or contactee or anybody who gets abducted on the ships and goes, E! But I've managed to talk to people like Lorian and talk to people like the lovely lady here and travel all over the world. And let me give you the big picture of this, which I think might be valuable. When you begin to realize there's maybe, just in my investigations, there were 108 different species, I guess, visiting this planet. There are extraterrestrial There are ultra-terrestrial, which means they come from here, but a different vibration or frequency. When you understand that the vibration of a molecule or an atom in lead, which is a pretty dense material, and then you go to the very next atom, and if Earth was the size of an atom in lead, that means that the very next atom in space, if we were that size, would be approximately 4 light years away, which gives you an idea of the infinite smallness as well as infinite bigness, I guess, as you could say. But there's vibrational frequencies where all kinds of things are coming from other dimensions. When you also speak to people inside the government as well, and they're talking about the real danger being not extraterrestrial but interdimensional, and that we began to rip holes in the time-space continuum, starting with the Nazi Bell in the 1930s, then with the USS Eldridge in 1943, which apparently went all the way to 2003, on August 14th of 2003, and then snapped back to its original time. I wrote a whole article about this saying there was going to be a massive electromagnetic flux of some kind when the Eldridge reappeared in 2003, and lo and behold, it blacked out New York City for 3 days, and the rest of the East Coast for 28 days. And I wrote an article about this saying it was going to happen, because I had people like Al Bielek and Preston Nichols and Duncan Cameron telling me that this stuff was going to occur. So when you see the things that are crazy or nutty or kooky or woo-woo, and you write about them and they begin to happen in your reality, it's pretty interesting. And then, of course, we had the atomic bomb, which ripped open time-space holes, which then lead to Roswell, which then lead to our doing this, and now leads to the government actually actively pursuing technology to be able to close these holes or these gaps in the space-time continuum. So ufology becomes like running through a swamp of luminous weeds. And then you always inevitably run into a black wall, because it's ultimately a Zen cone. You can't know what's happening on the other side of that wall. So what you do is you talk to people that have been to Disneyland. You talk to people that have the picture. They've got the balloon. They've got the t-shirt. And if they have those things, and once again, outrageous claims demand outrageous proof. So, you know, you're asking these people, what kind of proof do you have? What kind of, you know, on the spectrum of one lady who's got probes in her head that you can see the antenna coming out the roof of her mouth, who's been abducted over and over and over again and has been impregnated. The fetuses run to about 4 to 6 months, and then suddenly they disappear. And she's been kicked out of her gynecologist's office because the guy can't explain any of it, doesn't want to be involved in what's going on. To the other side of a guy who claims he's been abducted, who makes millions of dollars writing books and making movies of the experience, but has no physical evidence whatsoever. You know, whose own wife says he's full of crap. So it's sort of like that. But then you talk to people who are world-class scientists, like Dr. Anthony Ribera, as an example, who was partners with Jacques Cousteau for 25 years. And he was in contact with a race of beings called the UMO. And the UMO tuned us into what AIDS was. The UMO gave scientists warnings about various diseases and various things that were coming. They gave us medical advancements. They couldn't give us energy advancements because they were afraid that us monkeys would turn them into weapons too easily. You talk to the Billy Myers and the Adrianes and the guys who are in contact with the Palladians. It's also interesting because on the one hand you have what seems to be a white Nordic, not sure what you would call those contactees, but let's call them Germanic or Viking, that seem to deal in technology, nuts and bolts, hardcore ships. Then you talk to elders of the Dogon tribe. You talk to people in Mexico, like Carlos Diaz, who could go out in his yard, and I was there with the Strange Universe crew, went out in his yard, did a meditation, and a UFO appeared over his head that we filmed. And it looked like a big balloon. It was yellow and red, and he said it was interdimensional, that at some point he's walked into these UFOs and thousands of people have been taken in their sleep. By the way, you might want to, if you're in the UFO community, you might want to watch what you wear to bed at night, because at some point you're going to be standing in a room full of people staring at a screen going, hey, she's kind of hot. So But he says that you could walk into these ships and they're interdimensional and you see thousands of people. And they're all looking at a screen and the screen is lighting up with stars, but they're being programmed with energy and information of what to do at some point in the future when bad things happen to this earth. And in the case of Alice Haggerty, in the case of Carlos Diaz, in the case of well, not so much Billy, well, yeah, Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer has a whole batch of prophecies as well. In the case of Audrey, over and over and over again, the thing that seems to, and once again, I haven't had this experience myself, but in talking to them, they seem to be very concerned about things in the future and whether or not there are major disaster scenarios and making sure that the right, or should I say, correct people survive these scenarios. However, in order to get human beings to cooperate, the aliens have no problems about lying to us either. And it's sort of like maybe picking up a bear to tag it, or a dog before you put it to sleep and going, oh, it's okay, everything's okay. You ever notice when people tell you it's okay, it's never okay? Ever, even on TV, it's okay. Nope, that person's gonna die. So in all of these things, it seems that and let me tell you the other aspect of this. When you're talking about hybridization of human beings, and you're talking about the difference, I'm still trying to figure out, maybe this lovely lady can answer for me, but there's the Andromedans that come from the Andromeda galaxy, and there's the Andromedans that come from the constellation of Andromeda, that I'm trying to figure out the difference between all those. But let me blow some sunshine up your kilt here and tell you how powerful we are. When you're talking about like the Greys, or I'll just use that generic term or whatever, and you're talking about the human hybrid program, where they seem to be, their big technological advances abducting human beings, males and females, and taking genetic material, sperm and eggs, an example, to then crossbreed it with their species, as an example. And they create this race of kids that I just call mall kids, because they can't exist on their planet, they can't exist on our planet, so maybe they're just flying around in giant space malls, I don't know, wandering around shopping or something. But it's very interesting to me because they're at the end of an evolutionary spiral. They're a hive mind. And unfortunately, that's what the internet is offering you, is a hive mind. The ability to not only in some ways come together, but the wiping out of uniqueness. Being a Twitter, it used to be if you twittered somebody, well, I don't know, what do they go when you Twitter somebody? Is that twatting someone or something? So it's, just saying. So, but if you'll notice, what it's doing is it's homogenizing everybody. It's bringing conformity. It's bringing that aspect of the hive mind. And I'm almost out of time here. I guess okay. So just to say the last portion of this thing, we're between two empires. We're in between the Pleiadian Empire, the Lyran Empire, what have you, and the Alpha Draconian Empire, which is primarily reptilian. If you'll notice that the higher and lower levels of human being, we talk about the limbic system, the reptilian system, which is where we live in fear, where we live in greed, where we live in all of these different aspects, and supposedly the Lyran and Andromedan and higher level system, the Pleiadian aspect of this, which every single time there's an interaction with those constellations, there's an uplifting of humanity, an ascension of humanity. But what ultimately happens, and I'll just wrap on this note, the most powerful thing in the universe is our souls. They're fighting a war for our souls. And whether or not you recognize that every single one of you is literally a son, a hypergenetic hydrogen reactor of this kind of energy, that they are influencing us one way or another to find out which level would control this planet. Is it going to be the lower aspect that has us stuck in the limbic system, the reptilian? Or is it going to be the higher aspect where we ascend, hopefully standing up into that next reality, as opposed to being, on our faces, on our knees in the mud, which may just happen this year. And when you're talking about 2022 and the Death Star that may or may not appear on June 1st, NASA says it's going to be there and bring about what Blavatsky called the mass culling of men and animals. I've been saying that for a long time, and you're seeing it happen now. You're seeing it in China. You're seeing it here with 30 million chickens and turkeys being slaughtered. You're seeing it in China where they're rounding up everybody's animals and throwing them in garbage trucks. And you're seeing it with the food shortages that are about to be initiated. And this is the one time that we really got to stand up on our hind legs and fight back against these people. Because this is between now and 2025, one way or another, this country and this world is not going to be the same. It's going to be completely different after that point. And it's going to be up to us to figure out which one of those futures we're going to take. But ultimately, remember that you're something, sorry, I'm not tearing up because of emotions. I've got the problem with my throat. It's going to come to the point where it's very interesting for me to take a look at this, where we're on the brink of the possibility of a war where 2 billion people could die. We're on the possibility of a war where food shortages could be initiated. And I'm not the doom and gloom guy, mostly. I'm the happy guy. And you're seeing this happen. So just understand how powerful you are. Understand there's a war being fought for your souls. So just choose the positive aspect, be together, make sure you value your friends and the people that you're with, and just pray. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Really an interesting perspective from all four, really highly commendable. I want to ask and open this up for questions and a debate between you guys. Right now, I saw last Monday, a couple of Mondays ago, the famed Jordan Peterson, the famed psychologist who's trending very heavily on Twitter and on YouTube, etc. And he had a private meeting with Elon Musk. And he was saying, how does one guy achieve all this? You have a space program, you have a new currency, you have a new transportation program. But the thing that got to me were two particular things. Jordan Peterson answered on Joe Rogan, when Joe asked him about Mr. Musk, he said, well, he's an alien. Well, I mean, that really threw us in broad daylight, and he said that he's a reptilian. Now, for you and I, we know that there is some kind of blend going on, there's an emergence perhaps going on, but my curiosity, and here's the question, we have Mr. Musk and Tesla putting up 15,000 satellites around the entire globe that will read back to the entire humanity in real time, or the Defense Department, or whatever, what is going on here. Now, we have spheres that are dropping down into the ionosphere and the troposphere. They seem to be non-aggressive targets, and they don't seem to exhibit behavior as anything we developed. But I'm concerned about these 15,000 satellites, because I think, well, one would have to be very naive, wouldn't they, to think this was just about faster downloadable speed? I think that this is very concerning, this 15,000 satellites. So I'm going to throw this out as a question to all of you. Danny, why don't you lead off with this question and give me an idea of what you think about these 15,000 satellites?
Well, number one, I don't think Elon Musk is a reptile.
Good.
To start with. I think that people are bordering on being irresponsible in these kind of offhand, wisecracky things about, people being aliens and walk-ins and reptilians and stuff like that. I think it's not only not helpful, but it's lazy thinking, ethically and morally. I think that this issue is such an extraordinarily important time for us to try to be serious about the situation that we're in, and having to think clearly about how we're going to work with our whole human family to try to prepare for this thing that's happening now. As I say, this is a time in all of history of our human family when the relationship that we're going to have with the extraterrestrial civilization and the different species is being determined right now. Either we're going to participate in that as people, as democratic people, or the decisions are going to get made by somebody else. The same kind of elite people that are, fighting now with tanks and explosives, in Eastern Europe against each other. and all the media cheering us on to send many more millions and millions of dollars to the Ukrainians, and the Russian people characterizing this as staving off NATO surrounding, that these people should not be left to make this decision about how we're going to relate to the extraterrestrial civilizations. We need to be involved in it. And so I think that we have to be careful about the thinking that we're doing here. I mean, I'm all, I don't know what you're even saying.
She says you're digressing.
No, I'm saying precisely that the national security people that are involved in these kind of plans to put, encircle our planet with surveillance satellites and et cetera, are not the people that we can allow to make these decisions. I don't think we need to characterize people that are involved in that as alien reptiles or walk-ins. These are other people, other human beings that we need to neutralize their power and their authority. But it requires a coming together of us, of regular citizens, to assert our influence and power over this particular set of issues. So that's my initial response to this, that Elon Musk isn't some walk-in alien. I think it's irresponsible of people to be, belittling the importance of this phenomenon by just casting those kind of purported aspersions on people you don't agree with. I think that we've got to be more careful about this, and we've got to figure out how to get engaged, how to organize ourselves, how to structure ourselves so that we can make decisions. That's what I think we have to do. Now, it may be a little over lawyer-like, trying to get things organized and intelligently articulated so that we can move together as a community. But that's what I'm recommending, rather than these aside aspersions of people that we don't agree with politically.
Vivian, do you want to comment on that? What I'm looking for here is polarity. He's been mentioning things about hybrids, et cetera, and then I want to go to Sean right after that. But do you want to comment on that?
Well, my opinion is I don't think Elon Musk is all that smart. But that's just me. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Robert. Beyond satellites, beyond 5G tower, beyond the polarization and the fractals and all the duality that you've been experiencing for such a long time, humanity, bottom line is humanity as point of reach of importance enlightenment. And that enlightenment decision lay within you, right here, right now, beyond politics, beyond what has been thrown at you through media, manipulation, stories interweave into a false matrix that has been holding you back in anger, frustration, and division. We, from the all completely outside of an all new paradigm, we invite you more than ever to recognize that the power that truly lies within you. I stand on a whole different level of realities, and my realities becoming your future realities, because we're all coexisting right here, right now. So our invitation, rather to give power to a topic, if we may lovingly said, is recognizing that in this very room right now, we have the power to uplift an entire civilization, imagining if we can unify and unite our voices, our heart, our light, our power, right now as we see you in your true nature, what can we do in this very second? Have you thought about that? So really is that reality is made of a multitude of interweave projected realities that you're coexisting in. Yes.
Remarkable. Sean, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, Elon Musk is not that smart. Number one, he's doing electric cars. The dumbest thing ever created, I'm sorry. Because your electric cars may not pollute in one place, they go pollute somewhere else. at a coal factory. I'm sorry, coal is what makes your electric cars run. That's number one. Number two, if he was really smart, he would have done the thing that Nikola Tesla did in the first place, which is an electric car that runs on the etheric energy of the planet. How about that? Number two, how did he get all his money? No. How did he get all his money? He doesn't sell as many cars as Toyota, doesn't sell as many cars as Ford. He gets his money from government grants. Billions in government grants. To do what? To put stuff up in space. That's not hard. We've been doing rockets since the 1950s, for God's sakes. And what does he do with that? He's developed, okay, all right, he put together PayPal. Oh, PayPal, which took everybody else's concepts on the computer and just figured out how to monetize it by transferring money from place to place, which is other people that he had developed for him. Then he tapped into government grants because everybody thinks electric cars are so great. Well, again, I don't understand these trucks. Oh, you see them out in the wilderness, and you see them going through lakes and people fishing. How do they recharge them out in the wilderness? Seriously, where's the charging station in the Sequoia National Forest? And again, if the power grid goes out, you're screwed. You can't get your car. And by the way, I just want to say, all you people that drive Teslas up here, you drive like jerks, okay? You're big jerks. And the only difference between a Tesla and a porcupine is that a porcupine, the pricks are on the outside. So what's he doing now? He's now ringed the planet with 5,000, count them, of these low Earth satellites. And every single time you've had a massive introduction of an electromagnetic system to the Earth, people get sick and die. And the last time they did this, the last time they electrified the planet, was somewhere around, 1918, 1919. You know what else happened then? The Spanish flu, and it killed 100 million people. Now what? Now, okay, so now he's saying, I'm gonna have Twitter because I'm gonna introduce some new algorithm, and Trump is gonna be involved in it because Trump gets back on Twitter and all that. I mean, so what? Twitter is the cage fight of the internet. Everybody thinks that Twitter has some high discourse or it's some sacred thing. No, it's all people swearing at each other. It's terrible. So it's like Twitter's like traumatizing. So Elon must be an alien. I would think we should have a better class of alien if that's really what he is. And people coming up with real things like the man who fell to Earth or what have you. And again, I would applaud him if he would come up with Edison had an electric car. Tesla, or the original Nikola Tesla, had an electric car. We had cars that had a switch in them originally where you could switch it from one thing. The original Model A's and Model T's had a switch where you went into town on your grain alcohol and you came back on Mr. Rockefeller's gasoline. Because you had a switch in them that you could switch back and forth from either grain alcohol or from whatever else. So I don't see as electric cars the fact that they can go to ludicrous mode where you can't even drive that anywhere. I don't see any big giant advancement here, other than the fact that now he's some social hero because he's going to buy Twitter and free up the Twitter platform, which is now going to stop the jerks who run the media from having complete and utter control over it. But again, not some big innovation. If he really wants to innovate stuff, how about he buys Disney and stops them polluting little kids' heads? How about that? So just saying, anyway.
There you have it. I'd like to ask our guests to keep our answers to 1 minute because I just, because I do want to go to your questions out there. Lorian,
okay.
Your thought, 1 minute.
Just quickly, I wanted to say that I have friends that develop the satellites that go into space that have actually worked on Musk and other satellites and Department of Defense contracts and the whole bit. And I can tell you this, those satellites, including Musk and every other satellite up there, has many functions. That's all I'm going to leave it at for you guys. Think about it. They aren't always up there just for one purpose. They're up there for many reasons.
Well, I think Bezos is Dr. Evil. Don't you think he's Dr. Evil? Bezos wants a base on the moon. Dr. Evil has a base on the moon. Yeah. Dr. Evil has a rocket that looks like a penis. Bezos, I'm sorry.
Terrific.
Just saying.
I just want to throw out another question. We're going to go to you guys. Okay, we have had 2 years of a massive closure, COVID. We have had a pandemic. We are still in the midst of it. We see things like Shanghai being completely shut down. The streets are empty. Does COVID, you guys, have any relation to extraterrestrials? Is this a bioweapon? Is this possibly something to do with disclosure or ETs? Is there any involvement here at all, being that it's globally?
Or is it the flu?
Yeah.
Fine.
I don't think much constructive is going to be offered on the COVID issue here. you know. I mean, you're going to have people all around the whole spectrum, and people aren't going to get anything constructive done. I think about that. I would propose talking about something else.
Okay, let's talk about this. How would ET transcend the incredible distance it would even take to get here, being that light travels at the speed that it does? People have been trying to negotiate that about how in the world do they transcend the incredible distance it would take to get here.
Well,
That's one of the old ones. That's one of the classics. That's the Carl Sagan position that, you know, oh yeah, probably, you know, given the expanse of space, that there's probably life elsewhere, but it's impossible for them to get here because they can't exceed the travel at the speed of light, and so therefore it's all moved. They're never going to find us. I mean, that's their position.
well, Carl Sagan would say you also can't get to the moon in a boat. You have to have a different technology to get to somewhere. So we're introducing different technologies, like in here, like Sands of Time. It's everything I'm telling you in there is all the secret government stuff that the guys in the supposed actual government are spending all this money to find out what these guys are actually up to. Area 51 is not owned by the government. It's a private company organization. They actually spoke to the guy at the commandant of Nellis, who said, "What's going? Thank you, sir." And he said, "I don't know what's going on there because I'm not allowed there. I don't have a classification that high."
Any more comments?
That's why it's
Deep
called
breath,
panel.
everyone. Deep breath. Let's reset. Technology is, you have to think way outside your box because it's beyond the speed of light. It's the speed of thought. And really advanced technology has to be combined with highly level of consciousness. Consciousness and technology cannot be separated. So if you take a really advanced group like the Andromedan or our group, the Arcturians, we're way past all of this. We have shipped throughout the entire multiverse. And wherever we are, we're always in a constant state of holographic telepathic communication with each other. I can talk to any Arcturians within the multiverse at the speed of thought. And this is why we invite you to go back to, is that the same thing with you are the best part of conscious organic technology. Your thought form, every thought form that you generate, travel throughout the multiverse. It goes beyond this earth, goes beyond your solar system. It is intercepted and received by enlightened intergalactic groups, those who are spiritually aligned where their technology and their way the way they have evolved. So right here, right now, you can travel to thought by a thought form is sent, and you will receive a reply. So you have to go outside of what your science and technology have taught you here. Even this is obsolete, and we know that. So just think about, it's this consciousness, the evolution of consciousness. This is what is the transcendence of a lot of things that are happening on your planet. And this has been foreseen for a very long time. So all souls are sitting in this group right now. There's so many old souls that travel through the multiverse to return in these times. It's not just to experience a shortage of food. You're here for much more than that. Always keep that in mind.
Okay, guys, I guess I'm the final thought on that one. I want to say interdimensional travel is real. It does happen. Time travel is real. It does happen. Just like Vivian says, everything travels at the speed of thought. That is the first thing everybody on this planet's got to understand before we can accept the reality that ET is with us at all times, and we can commune with them if we're in the right thought process to get with them. Okay, just like I said earlier, we are all connected to God, always in our mind, and you just got to remember that. You can connect with your ETs, you can connect with God, your higher self, whatever it is you need to, and it's all there for you, but you've got to do it through consciousness. That's the key. And with love. Don't forget the love.
Right on. Okay, we're going to go to questions now here. I think we have a question over here. Can you speak loudly? That's Celestine Starr right over here. He's got a question. You stand up and ask it so we can all hear it. Mike, or Dennis, do we have a cordless mic?
We did last hour.
Why don't you just repeat the question?
Why don't you use your mic and just hold it down there for him?
All right. Come over here and ask the question.
Celestine.
There you go. That's what
Quite an incredible panel here.
You're on the spot now.
Yeah, there you go. So we understand that there are a lot of experiencers out there, and humanity, everybody here has had some kind of experience of some kind, or else they wouldn't be here, right? They're asking the question. So my question is, what does humanity need to do to bring peaceful living with our ultra-terrestrial relations, our interstellar relations? They tell me, and I have my own contact with them, is that they will not do a differentiation. They will not do war. They will not take over the planet. They've been here forever, so forget about that. Any talk about taking over is just not happening for them. So what they're saying is, in order for them to be with us, which I know there's a yearning, because I hear it all the time, people are asking me, but they're saying, for them, peace is woven into the fabric of the universe. And so they walk in peace with love and all these threads of kindness. But we come from peace and war, peace and struggle, peace and suffering. So what do we need to do? What's the next step for us to be at peace with ourselves, to move forward, to be in peaceful relationship with our interstellar people?
Right. I'm going to go first because I've got to get a word in edgewise here. I just want to say really quickly, the way to go with this is, again, back to consciousness, back to love. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. I had 3 downloads in succession about 3 years ago that were very profound. The first one that came to me from my ETs was just simply this. It was a very long download, but the final message was, we're all connected. The second download in the series is that love is the key to being able to deal with them. We cannot be in fear. We cannot be in any type of greed. We can't be in any kind of emotional state except for pure love. And then they will start dealing with us. We have been doing so many warring, so much evil has been perpetuated between us. And I think it sadly is because people are not having control of their mind. They don't ever sit down. No one ever teaches you when you're a kid, hey, get control of your thoughts, get control of your emotions, understand who you are as a soul being here on this planet. No one does that. You have to go out and search for it all by yourself. Parents don't teach it to their kids. I mean, maybe they do now, but when I was growing up, they didn't. So finally, I just want to say the last part to that download, that 3-part series, was that they told me time travel was the answer to them being able to be with us at any given time, and that they will never come down here and save us from ourselves. We have to do it alone, and we have to do it through love before they will come down and be with us.
Okay, next question. We have a question over here. Let's go to Mark over here. This is Mark. Go ahead, just ask it.
Okay, so actually I want to answer something first, which is that the solar...
You gotta go to the mic.
Please no.
All right. So the answer to the coal is solar energy, and that'll be very available very soon. It'll be fast, and it can grow fast enough, as can batteries. It can go exponentially growth in terms of marketing and production. So by 2030, we can get rid of that. At the same time, we can create economic prosperity for ourselves, because it's understood that right now, 10% of people's income goes to energy here, 15% around the world. 15% of their income goes to the transportation. So if we go to electric cars and batteries and solar that will last for 50 years or 60 years, within a few years you've paid it off out of savings, no negative cash flow, and now you have a renaissance because you have resources now to do something with. In terms of all this working together, I've been working on a knowledge-based idea for about 40 years, and we got people, Bucky Fuller's geocode. There's a whole lot of resources that we can use to put together all our knowledge and all the other people's knowledge, and actually have a model of the world that we can find out how to work together in.
Is there a question here, or is this a hostage situation?
No, the question would, okay, a question.
Because I don't hear one, sir.
I hear you, shut up. What a question can be out of that is, how would you like to play with that? Or what kind of sense do you have of possibilities that could open up if it became manifested?
The problem with your solution is, where's the money in it?
The money is in the profits from it's capitalism. It's like hedon capitalism.
There's an atomic battery that lasts forever right now, but again, you think Elon Musk is going to use it? No, because there's no money in it. You guys, whatever.
Okay, we have
Do
another
we have
question.
any ET questions or UFO questions?
This lady has been trying to get my attention, and while you're walking up here, there was a question here. Okay, Annalisa,
repeat
let's
the
go to you real
question so I
quick.
have to
What's your
walk all
question?
after.
Because I want to stay on time. I want to remind you all that Danny Sheehan is in this room at 7 p.m. So we want to be able to clear out the room and get ready for that. But let's go to a question for Annalisa.
This is based off of what Sean said and what Viviana said about the power of our souls, and that the people in this room could affect civilization. So how? Can we use our imagination? What could we do in this room now to affect civilization using the power of our soul?
Let's go with this question. Stay right there.
Well, the answer is having a common set of communications that have everybody put your emails, into a central place where people can talk to each other, and share information with each other, and take responsibility collectively for thinking together, working together, communicating. The people come to these and they sit and they listen to everybody talk about it, and then everybody goes home and waits for the next one. What we need to do is try to get people who come to these things to start participating in them. So, I would propose a simple answer to the question is that everybody give Robert Perella your email address, and have Robert make sure everybody gets it. It's as simple as that, and then you can start communicating and talking and figuring out when to meet and what to do.
It's called the internet.
That's the community organizing. That's the short answer. It's not sexy, but it's the answer.
The internet does represent the seventh chakra of the planet, just so you know. Seventh chakra of the planet, because it's the new sphere that Pierre Chardin talked about, that everyone finally comes together and actually comes in that violet flame of that fire. There's chakra systems throughout the earth, but the brain is all of us, is the collective consciousness of all of us.
That's one thing beyond emails and beyond all of this, and I do agree with community energy. It started by you to make the conscious choice. Is today I serve the light. I recognize myself as a divine essence of light. I watch my thought. I use my words, my actions. Everything is conducive for me to be a powerful anchor of light. Because all of you right now here would generate so much energies that if you live in resonance in your higher integrity and higher wisdom that comes from your heart, nothing to do with your brain. Your heart, this is your gateway of ascension. Even your thymus chakra, the higher heart, is the return of living in your heart. Ask every day, your heart, how can I support you today? Ask Supreme Source, Creator, your divinity, what can I do to be of service today? Because your thoughts, your actions, your words, your decision, all the energy that you generate contribute to sustain one reality over another. You have the choice. You are living in a multitude of colliding and coexisting realities. And we are proof of it. This is what we have shared with you. So simply live in the wisdom of your heart every single day, from what you eat, what you think, what you say, and so forth.
Amen. There you go.
And I want to add to that really quickly one last thing. Danny's right. Everybody's got to start getting out and doing things now. There's no more time for apathy. There's no more time to say, oh, I don't have the time. What you've got to do is just do what I do. Go to a MUFON meeting once a month. Get out there, do something. Make sure that at least one day a week you spend 2 or 3 hours trying to change the world in the best way you know how. Okay? It's that simple, but you've got to do it. We have no more time left. There's no more time left.
Yeah, this question is for Mr. Sheehan. Do you think there will be a disclosure this year? And is there a connection with Ukraine?
Well, no, I don't think there's going to be a disclosure this year. The levels of communication are going on right now with the Defense Department and trying to get the State Department involved in discussing this issue, trying to get the different committees in the Senate and the House to start participating in this discussion. If you're talking about disclosure coming from the government structures, the government structures are under the control of an extraordinarily powerful, very small elite, on the planet. They clearly have it in their interest that this information is not going to be shared. They want to possess the technology of this. They're just fetishing about the technology that is represented in the UFO phenomenon. I've been in the meetings, you can tell, and there's this fixation they have about trying to get control over the technology that the UFOs are displaying. There's an old Sufi saying that when a pickpocket meets a saint, all he sees are his pockets. And that's what's going on now with regard to the government circles. They're dominated and controlled by a capitalist system that as you were pointing out, where's the money? Where's the profit in this? And it's a sinful structure. It's a sinful structure. And so that it's a spiritual energy that has to dissolve away that attachment to greed and domineering and power. That's what we've got to do, and it has to characterize our whole movement, in my opinion.
Well, you've also seen Paul Hellyer, who's the Secretary of Defense for Canada, formally saying we're in contact with at least 9 different alien species that I know of. And then you had, again, Vladimir Putin say, we're in contact with 27 different races, 3 of which are actively trying to destroy us. And also, don't think for a second that advanced technology makes people peaceful. Look at the Germans as an example. And at the same aspect, every time an advanced technology comes in contact with a low technology, the lower technology is raped and enslaved. Talk to the Indians, talk to the Mayans, talk to the Aztecs. And I'm sorry, but the universe is not a peaceful place. The Mahabharata and all of our ancient texts all talk about wars, of giant cities at war with each other, of planets at war. The asteroid belt is probably some kind of planet that was destroyed in a war between Mars and Marduk. So again, the peace has to come from within ourselves. And I don't know. It's just who knows about any of this. But if they all come from the sky and they offer us this superior technology, if you take history into account, the best thing for us to do would be to kill them and eat them.
Terrific.
Consciousness.
Okay,
it has to be with consciousness.
I'm sorry?
Consciousness.
Okay. Consciousness, yes. That's great. Is there a question?
Let's go to a question. We are getting close to our ending, so this might be the last question.
I'm the officially designated downer today, I guess. I'm sorry.
I listen a lot to Benjamin Fulford, Megan Rose, and Janine the Tarot reader. There's a lot of people talking about what you said, Vivian, that there's going to be a mass awakening coming, and good clairvoyance had told me it could be this summer. It's hard to put a time on it, but it is going to happen before the end of the year. I'd like to get more details, and if you have any other good news, I'd like to ask Sean if he has something, and everybody.
Didn't they say all these people have been hung at Gitmo already, and that there are clones now?
Well, there's a lot happening, but mainly I'm interested in the awakening. Can you give us any more detailed information? What do you see?
Let's make this last comment, and then we can wrap and tell you where we can find you as well.
Thank you, Peter. It is very true that there is a second major wave of awakening coming up. May has been an entry door We have seen this coming since last year. From months on, I have started to see a very distinct corridor of light around the month of May. That is just an extrapolation of time because you're thinking about 3D linear time. We're thinking about more fluctuating time, universal time. Month of May, it's a portal. It's an opportunity that we're just starting to reach. There is, like you mentioned, and many other sources out there have spoken, a second wave of opportunity. What we'll do is that people who start to awaken, especially over the last 2 years with the global changes, will be giving an opportunity to even further down their evolutionary process of the awakening process. And those who are still standing between duality, the paradigm of fragmentation versus the paradigm of ascension, will be given a huge opportunity to really, it's almost like crossing a threshold, if you want. And if you look at the way your population is evolving, you have to realize that those who are exiting the planet, it's already been pre-planned. These are soul groups who understand their role. They come, they encore the light, and they continue on their evolutionary process. Some souls will continue on the 3D axis, others will continue on the timeline of ascension up to the fifth dimensional reality. So that wave, it's happening now. We are at the early stages. The solar frequency that we are recently received is also coming from the great central sun, coming through your sun here in your solar system. And those solar frequencies help you to rebalance the new template, the new cosmic human design template that more and more human beings are start to embody. So your body is shifting. Your body becomes very effective conduit to hold these frequencies. This is part of the shift even in the quantum field of your DNA. There's tremendous changes. Yes, there's been a lot of polarization on your planet, and we understand that. But at the same time is to see where are you investing your awakening time? What are you supporting every day? Still recognizing what's been happening in the peripheral of your world, but in reality, you understand that we have been preparing for this for a very long time as a collective, as a community of light. So that wave is going to really help. Between, I would say, the next 3 months, as we reach the summer solstice, all the way to the fall equinox around October. And October, we're going to another huge acceleration. In 2023, we're on. I mean, it really is. We see it, we maintain, we work very hard in maintaining the timeline with you guys. And so, right on, Peter, I'm glad you asked about the wave, because it really is, catch it. This is your time. This is your time. Seriously, you have been preparing this for eons.
Yay.
Wonderful. Brace for impact. Yes, sir. Okay, last comments here. I want to let you know you can get a DVD of this if you're interested. It's outside of room 3. I will be here in room 7 tomorrow, or rather this room actually, room 3 at 5 p.m. See us, Danny and I, at booth 302. And Lauren, where can we find you?
You can find me at booth 302 as well. You will see me tomorrow night at 6 p.m. right here, right after Robert. I also am starting 2 new internet television networks. I think I mentioned that, and there's a bunch of things going on. So what I would like you all to do is get active, start doing things with people, get on my email list. It's at my name, LorianFenton.com, and don't miss all the things that are happening that I'm going to tell you about.
Okay, where can we find you, Vivian? What booth?
Booth 311. I also have a podcast called the Infinite Star Connections. We'll be weekly on Sundays on YouTube, Facebook. We have our website, infinitehealingfromthestars.com, Energies of Service. Come see us, booth 311. We'll connect with you.
And Danny, you're in this room at 7 p.m.?
Yeah, right following this.
Yeah,
He's going to be talking about the new paradigm. You want to see this. As far as Danny's talking the new paradigm, it's absolutely fantastic. And Sean, where can we find you?
Come on down to the website, strangeuniverseradio.com. We're back up on YouTube. We got a bunch of cool stuff up there. We're just getting started. Revolution.radio, no .com or anything like that. I'm on from 10 o'clock to midnight every night, Monday through Friday, and it's an actual radio station and all that, and we're in booth 230, where's Melissa when I need her? 236, and come and get my autograph to the books while I'm still alive. So, so there you go. Thanks, man.
Fantastic. Okay. Have a great time at the expo. Remember, love yourselves more deeply.
Thank you,
You'll
Robert.
get better results.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey.
you.
Okay.
I want a picture with you.
Hey, thank you, sweetie. Thank you so much.
Let's do a selfie.
I'm getting up
Yeah,
here. Hold on.
and please, put me back on
Yeah,
the list.
sure.
Don't condemn my work with it.